everyone, it's Jocelyn from the program office. I'm just kind of doing some test driving on the WebEx. If you can hear me, could you please type in the chat box and say that you can hear me? Thanks, Ramanan. So we're going to start in just a little bit after 12, so hold tight. The way that this will work is that we will be giving the presentation. I don't anticipate it being too long, maybe 15 to 20 minutes of us, and then we'll open it up to Q&A. I think that just the best way to facilitate it, so if you have a question about the presentation, just type it into the chat box and we'll answer it later after we finalize the presentation.
So everyone's muted, right?
Yes, everyone's muted.
And I'm joining you guys too. It's Courtney Chandler.
We'll start with that.
But Jocelyn's going to be doing most of it. Okay, yeah, let people log on.
Okay, we're going to start right now. Again, this is Jocelyn Simon. I'm the Assistant Director of the Ewing Weekend Program Office, and I'm joined by Courtney Chandler, the Director of the program. So the objective of today, we're going to give you a very, just a quick overview about what we are offering for this summer 2014 semester, what it is, what it's about, and how it is different from what we offer in fall and spring. I'm going to go more about the logistics, talk about what we're offering and specific about our international courses and the electives that we are having here at HOTS, and go over more or less what the nuts and bolts of selecting courses are for this summer and the timeline for that. Again, like I said before, we invite you to type in your question in the chat box, and then after we do the somewhat formal presentation, we'll answer questions from there. Okay, great. So for summer 14, a lot of students have been asking me, especially first-year students going into their second year, what the difference is for summer offerings versus fall and spring electives. So the way that we look at summer is that consider it as more of an add-on to the fall and spring electives that we have. So the evening and weekend program is designed for you to average 6 elective units in your fall and spring semesters for 4 semesters after you finish your core curriculum. So since it is a 3-year program, that's the format that an average EW student, if you take 6 units for 2 years or 4 semesters, not including summer, you're on schedule to finish the program on time. So the way to look at summer, it's an opportunity to provide, for the program to provide courses we usually can't in fall and spring. Since summer is more of a condensed schedule as opposed to a traditional 15-week fall and spring semester, we provide alternate types of courses. So you can see on the schedule we did a lot of international programs, electives that require travel. We're also offering one-unit courses that kind of fall into that seminar type of format. So you can still take classes during the summer and not necessarily have as quite a heavy load as you would in fall and spring. The way that a lot of EWs look at summer as it's an opportunity for you to catch up. So if students don't want to take a heavier load in fall or spring or average 6 units and they want to lighten their load during the academic year, they would take a summer course. It's very common for first-year students to take problem-finding, problem-solving during the summer if they can, just because it's a required course for the MBA degree, but you don't necessarily have to worry about it into integrating into your fall and spring elective schedule. So I think a lot of students, when they look at the summer schedule, they think that, oh my goodness, the choices aren't as much as fall and spring. You know, take that in consideration, and if you do see something that you like or a topic that you enjoy, definitely put your name in the hat for it. But in no way that you should feel that if you don't take a summer class that you're missing out or you're behind or anything, you know, of that sort. The program totally is based on you taking it in fall and spring. One thing that we've seen for this, you know, the incoming third years that have noticed that we have versus past summers, we are offering a lot more classes this year, and the reason why is that we have the opportunity to cross-list a lot of courses with the MBA for Executives program. And we're really excited about that just with the new program that is starting off, and we have the opportunity to do so. So a general overview of the summer 14 offerings, the way that you would look at it is we have international courses and our domestic HOS electives. So the two international options we have is IBD and SIB China. We've had a couple of info sessions that were directly focused on IBD and SIB. The deadline to sign up for these courses is next Monday, and we give you more time to do that just because we know that the international component is a little bit more of a factor in you planning your summer schedule. So you know whether or not you got into these international courses earlier just because you need to schedule everything else in advance. When I go over the actual registration timeline for that, you can see that all the time that you actually have to finalize your summer schedule, all those dates align at the end. So you know whether or not you get into an international class, the timeline for you to finalize that class, it runs parallel to your HOS electives. So the electives that are here at HOS, if it turns out that you sign up for an international course and you can't make it, you still have time to choose a HOS elective within that time frame. So, so before I go into this, disregard that slide, we wanted to go over a little bit about the electives that we are offering at HOS. If you look at the link to the summer 2014 course schedule, you have links to all of the course descriptions, but I wanted to call out a couple of these courses for you just in order for you guys to have more information about the courses. So This summer, we're offering 3 sections of problem finding, problem solving. Like I said before, this is very popular among first-year students that are going into their second year, since it is a required course for your MBA degree. And so students have found that summer is a good time for them to take this class, just because they can focus on it. It's a 1-unit course, and they don't necessarily have to integrate that into their fall and spring schedule.
We will be offering, though, it in the fall as well.
Yes. It is a basic course that we offer in fall and spring semester, since it is a required course. One thing to note as well, so we have a 2 evening options and a Sunday option for our weekend students. But also keep in mind we're going to be offering a block week course, meaning a Monday to Friday evening course in early August, and that information and the dates will be in the fall information that we'll be sending in early April. Turnarounds with Peter Goodson. Before I say that, we're offering 2 block week courses, and the definition of a block week course is basically you take a class Monday to Friday and it's all day. So we have 2 options for that. The first is Turnarounds with Peter Goodson, and then the second, which will be offered in July 7th to July 11th, and then the second one is Negotiations with Holly Schroth, and she will follow a very similar format.
That'll be offered in June, though.
Correct, June 16th to June 20th. We're offering a traditional Saturday option, all day, same thing. It'll be two sessions where it's all day with Wasim Asar with pricing. And then alongside that, we are offering a series of classes that are going to be cross-listed with the MBA for Executives programs. So when you're taking a look at that schedule, you know, be very careful about the times and dates. Most of them are going to be kind of standard Saturday or Sunday classes, but one I did want to call out was Cases in Real Estate Investments with Eric Sussman. So that's going to be cross-listed with the MBA for Executives programs, but that is actually following their block week format.
Not their block week, but their normal block format, which is a Wednesday through Sunday.
Yes, so it's Friday, you know, 5 days, and the dates and times do vary. So keep an eye out on that if you're interested in that course, because we do run, it's some evenings, it's some, what do we got here? It
starts Wednesday night, and then it's going to go all day Thursday, all day Friday, and then finish half day Sunday, I think is the way it's supposed to go,
yeah.
which is closer in lines with the normal block structure in the MBA for Executives program. Mm-hmm. So not a whole week, but a Wednesday through Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One class that I wanted to explain a little bit was Telecom Media Technology with Reza Moazzami in this series of courses. So essentially what Professor Moazzami has done, his fall and spring classes have been very popular with EWs for the past couple of years, but he does understand that a lot of students don't have, you know, necessarily the time or the technical background to take his course. So what he has presented this summer is a series of a general overview of a particular topic. So he is doing a strategy and practice for telecom media technology. So it's 3 different sections, but you don't necessarily have to take all 3. The only prerequisite for all 3 is to take the Telecom and Media Technology A. That is going to be a more general overview, and then if you are interested in the topics that are going to be offered later on in the semester, you would be more than happy to continue on, but if you wanted to do just the first one, that's fine. If you wanted to do the second and third topics, the prerequisite is that you would have to take that intro course during the summer. But so you can take all, you can take 1, or you can take 2, just depending on what you're interested in. So the next class we wanted to explain, and maybe Courtney can help me a little bit with this one. It's a very unique course. It's called Natural Leadership, and if you want to talk a little.
So you guys should have all gotten an email from Jocelyn yesterday about this, which was content from Whitney Hirshire and Rajiv Ball and Sandra Geisler, who are going to be offering this class. It's a brand new class. As you can see, it's called Natural Leadership. It'll be offered on 2 different Sundays, also listed with the EMBA students. It'll be off-site in the East Bay at a stable, most likely in Walnut Creek. So it is dealing with horses. It's not riding horses, but basically it talks about your leadership style and kind of nonverbal communication skills and using horses to really to bring that to light. It's been a very successful class taught in the Center for Executive Education, and Sandra Geisler and Rajiv Ball have taught it through their institute in the Netherlands. So we're trying it out this summer, but I think it sounds like an interesting look at your leadership skills. So those of you wanting to kind of continue to look at that, I highly recommend taking a closer look at that class. So there's a great description in the link as well as the email that went out yesterday about that class. And the last two we need to talk about are IBD and SIB. So we have done info sessions on that in the past, and those are our international offerings.
Yes, and all of the links and the information is on the course descriptions. So some students were asking earlier about what the selection process for that is. Last year, for the past 2 years, we've asked for applications in advance, but we've switched it this year where we're doing it purely by seniority and randomized within class year, which is essentially the same format that we're doing for all of the other classes during the summer. So there's no formal application process that you would have to go through to be selected for IBD. If you are selected for IBD, then you would go through the process of the IBD team will present you with a series of other questions as opposed to course selection or how the teams are set up, et cetera. The final class that we're offering this summer is Seminars in International Business China. The instructor for that is Tony Zaloom. He's been the instructor for this for the past 2 years. And it's a 2-unit, 1-week in-country course. It is the anticipated locations for that are Shanghai and Beijing. So there's a series of classes that you would have to go pre-trip, and then there's one post-trip session that you would attend alongside the 1-week in-country travel. So before we go into the Q&A section, I wanted to talk about registration logistics and the timeline. Like I said before, the selection process is based on seniority in the program and randomized within class year. So there's no bidding associated with this. You go into OLR, you take a look at the classes that you're interested in. If you're interested in the class, select a class. And what would happen is that you just make sure you do it by the deadlines that we posted. So for the international trips for IBD and SIB, the signups close this Monday, March 24th at 9 a.m. 4 p.m. that same day, next Monday, if you signed up for this class, you'll receive an email that has the selection results. So you'll know whether or not you've been chosen for that class by 4 p.m. that day. And then from there, you will have a certain period up to April 9th for you to confirm the spot in the program. And if you are selected, there'll be some detailed instructions in which you'll have to satisfy to be selected for the program. For Haas electives, the ones that aren't going abroad, the deadline to sign up for that is March 31st at 9 a.m. We will post the results of that by 4 p.m. on Tuesday, April 1st. I anticipate that will be a little bit earlier, but I just wanted to give myself some buffer on that, frankly. And then also you can see the deadline is Wednesday, April 9th at 9 a.m. is the deadline to drop courses. So once you find out what you've gotten into, you have a period for you to select or make your final decision. And then the reason why that we did the international trips when you were notified earlier is because if it turns out, so for example, if you talk to your employer or your family and it turns out you can't go on the trip abroad, you have the opportunity to adjust your schedule and take a Haas elective in Berkeley should you want to during the summer. And all this information is posted, and we'll make sure that it gets sent in and reminded for everybody again. So that is basically it as far as the the formal part of the presentation goes. There were a couple students that typed in questions, and I'll make sure if you have a question or something you'd like something clarified, be sure to put it in the chat box. And we'll be sure to answer it.
We'll start to go through them now.
Okay. So the first question came from Pramit, and the question is, would the fall negotiations class be taught by Professor Schroff?
No. That's not going to be taught. We're really happy to have Holly Schroff teach this class over the summer, but right now she's not scheduled to teach the fall negotiations class. We will be offering negotiations in the fall in the evenings. And on a Saturday, but they won't be taught by her. We're still finalizing the professors there, so those will be announced when we release the fall schedule in early April.
All right, next question comes from Mike. Why should we consider IBD versus SIB? Based on scheduling, if we only take summer courses, then it seems that it's an either-or option. How do we choose one over the other?
Definitely it's either or given the demands of each of those two classes. And hopefully you guys know this, but they're quite different. Even though they're international trips, they're quite different in the way they're administered. SIB, as you know, is also offered over spring break, so we have trips leaving next week to Brazil and South Africa. So if you can't do SIB this summer, there'll be opportunity to do it again next spring. But the SIB trip is really a one-week in-country trip, this one to China, with a couple of meetings prior to going in-country and one meeting after surrounding the project that will be given to you as part of that trip. IBD is quite different. You're actually formed into teams of 4, and you're given a client, an international client, to do a project on. So you don't really get to necessarily pick which country you're going to or which client. Those are assigned for you as part of being assigned to this class. So you will meet over the summer to kind of learn about how to solve these issues faced by the client, and then you'll do an in-country trip in July to fulfill the requirements of that consulting engagement. So quite different trips, but have that both international flair that have with them. Is there anything else that?
Yeah, I mean, a good way to look at it is that, it depends on what you want to get out of the course. If you want to work with one client abroad on a consult, and you want to get consulting experience, IBD would be that option. If you're looking more into learning more about how business is done in X country, then SIB is for you. A lot of the times, the way that the instructor, Frank Schultz, has explained the difference is that if you're looking if you're the type of person that wants a little bit more certainty about where you're going and what you're doing and what time you're going to be there, then SIB would be your option. But if you're looking into a little bit more about, consulting projects where things might be a little bit more variable than IBD, that's a differentiator between the two programs. So next question is, does Sarah Beckman teach PFPS anymore for EW? So she does not. So Clark Kellogg is the primary instructor for PFPS. He teaches all of the sections for EWs. Next question is, when will Professor Ho teach the pricing course?
We're still working on that, so right now I don't have an answer for you on that. I know he's a very popular professor, and we were able to offer something this fall where students were allowed to have a glimpse into his course even though without taking it, correct, Jocelyn?
Correct.
Yeah, so we'll hopefully be able to do that again, but right now I cannot give you a good answer of when he'll be teaching pricing again.
Okay. Will there be a wait list for IBD once the initial results come out on March 24th? Yes, there definitely will be.
And actually, I have a question that I'm wondering if you guys all have that I'll ask Jocelyn, since I'm going through this process for the first time too. since this is a different process than what you do when you register for classes for fall and they're going into OLR, when they sign up for those classes, it say they're already on the wait list there just by the way the system?
Yes. So everybody by default, when you go into OLR right now, it'll say that you're on a wait list.
Yeah, even if it's before the date. That's what the big clarification is.
It's just the way that the system is. No one's been put into a class, but so everybody essentially is on the wait list right now.
And then we're going to take that complete list once the date closes, and that's when Jocelyn's been saying we'll take that class list, that list, and prioritize it by class year and then randomize it between that. So if you go in right now to OLR and sign up for any of these summer courses, it'll automatically say you're on the wait list just because of the way that system works.
Okay. Next is from Mike Wells. She says, thanks. I say you're welcome. Next up is from Saket. Can you talk a little about Haas at Work? When can one register for that?
That'll be offered in the fall, I believe.
Yeah.
And that'll be part of the registration process for fall electives, which we'll be sending out more information about that. That should be coming out in early April. Right now we have it scheduled for April 7th. So you'll have time to see the class offerings for that and look into that further.
Another question I wanted to answer, a lot of first-year students have been asking me about, the bidding process and what we should do going forward as they finish their core. The program office will be hosting a series of info sessions for you guys in early April once the schedule is released. So be on the lookout for more information about that.
Yeah, we should be sending out information today or tomorrow about the entire process surrounding fall electives, information about that, key dates, and how to do the bidding process, and a lot of events surrounding that to help you educate yourself better about choosing electives. Excuse me. Great questions so far.
I don't see any more questions in the queue. Does anybody else have any questions?
Well, we'll hold on for a couple more minutes if anyone wants to type any more questions at this point.
If we cannot get into a class, can we audit? So that question came from Nitin. And so the answer to that is, one, if there is space, so if it's not a class that, so essentially kind of just by the nature of your question, if we can't get into it, the answer is no. But if there is space available in the class, we do allow auditing upon instructor approval.
It's just a matter of there's enough actual room in the classroom to seat the students.
From Nikhil, the question is, can you talk about the number of units that we can spend in summer / spring courses? So as far as so as far as the number of units you can take in summer, you can take up to 8, but if you have the capacity to do so, and this goes with students, both in fall and spring. It really does depend on your capacity. I think that for 6 units for an EW student, that is a pretty, fair load for most folks. I think that, going from the core schedule to the electives, that's kind of an adjustment that students have to make. But I think that kind of given the elective structure and when classes are offered, the 6-unit average is pretty much, you do have the ability to go up to 8. I would think that given the nature of summer and the way that the dates overlap, you can take up to that, but I think kind of practically the opportunity to take up to that is very minimal, just considering the course dates and the schedule.
And that's a good point. I think it's really up to you guys when you're looking at these classes to really pay close attention to the course dates and times so they don't conflict. The OLR system won't do that for you. That'll be up to you guys to make sure that you're not signing up for 2 classes on the same day or time that you need to be there for. Another thing to note about units is that, like Jocelyn said, the program is really I don't know why I'm losing my voice today. The program is designed for you to not necessarily need to take elective units at all. Not need to take summer units at all. You can complete the whole program doing the 6 units in the fall and spring, your second and third year. But if you do choose to do summer electives to kind of offset the other units in the regular academic year, please note that if you dip below that 6 units, it could jeopardize your financial aid if that's something that you're signed up for. You do need a minimum of 6 units to be qualified for financial aid. So take that into account when you're planning out your year going forward.
And I just kind of, given the nature of summer and their offerings, it's you have the ability to have financial aid during the summer, but with that 6-unit minimum, it can be challenging for students to do so, just given the course selection and the format. Will there be a chance to drop a class after March 31st? Yes. So the final deadline for finalizing your classes is April 9th. So
anytime after that, you'll have the normal penalty if you drop a class past that, which is 20% of your bid points for the next year.
This is from Pramit. Given that negotiations and turnarounds have such a large wait list, would you be able to tell us if the wait list is mostly incoming third years or incoming second years, just so we can get an idea of the chances are? Honestly, it really is a combination of both groups. One thing to keep in mind is that when you're talking about summer, you have, in regard to the odds of getting in, there's an entire class of students, since third years are graduating. That's a whole group of about 200, 250, 2 to 225 students that aren't in the process. Something that also keep in mind is that, though these are 2 very popular classes, given that they are all-day block weeks, I think that kind of given our population of EW students, you wouldn't have as much of a population where competition would be as much versus elective courses that we would normally offer during the fall and spring semester.
It's just hard to tell because we don't know what that wait list looks like yet, if it is a majority third years or a majority second years at this point, to say who's going to have a better chance.
And then another thing to keep in mind is, like, if you're a savvy EW and you're interested in both classes, you would put your name on both, and then I would anticipate that the wait lists for both of those classes would fluctuate, considering after we release the schedule and run the lists, students are going to have an idea of what they want to get into and possibly drop their other courses.
There'll be some movement after.
Yeah, movement after. So I would say as you get closer to that April 9th, there will be fluctuations in the schedule.
Yeah, good question so far. What else can we answer for you guys?
Oh, another thing, just as you guys are, if you're thinking of other questions, the logistics for summer, since it is an abridged schedule, we are not running the evening shuttles on Monday to Thursdays, just given the nature of the population. We give everybody parking passes for that, for Saturday, both weekends, Saturdays, and evening classes. And then the normal, the EW MBA program office, we would run 9 to 5 p.m. So if you have any questions during the summer, just make sure to talk to us in advance so we can answer something for you. When will the IBD results be released? I missed the date, sorry. That's okay, Mahesh. So the answer is on March 24 by 4 p.m. You'll find out whether or not you got into IBD.
Which gives you still time to sign up for regular other classes because that deadline is March 31st.
And another thing to keep in mind as well, I mean, that might fluctuate too. There might be students that get into IBD and SIB, and from there they might choose one or the other. So there will be a lot of movement between when, March 24th and April 9th. more questions? Great. Well, if there isn't any more questions, we'll end the call end the WebEx right now. If you have any further questions once you get off this WebEx, feel free to contact me or anybody else in the program office, and we'll make sure to answer your question before then. All right.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Should we hang up?